Okay. Not going to go too long with this, just because it's the weekend and Christmas is coming up soon, and I have not done a whole lot of shopping yet, so I want to do trying to get some of that done today. Just doing this to finish it off because I couldn't do it on the day it aired because, well, the show was on pretty late, 11 to 1 a.m. So anyway, let's talk about Impact for a little bit. World Title Series Final Four. Now, as one final fuck you to Impact Wrestling, Destination America decided to air the last original episode before TNA exits their channel for Pop TV at 11 o'clock at night. I guess because they thought reruns of Ghost Asylum or whatever the hell they were airing instead would get higher ratings. Or maybe they just felt like being dicks. Though, let's be honest, the product lately hadn't given them much incentive to cut TNA a lot of slack. 2.5 months of a world title tournament just to arrive at a Final Four. Two guys who you could have gotten simply by doing a rematch of their Bout It Bound for Glory. One who never should have lost the world title in the first place, and the other a career mid-carder who should never have been in this spot to begin with. And then the other two, one of TNA's lowest drawing world champions in recent memory, and a guy who couldn't cut a genuinely compelling promo if you put a gun to his head. For the record, that last one applies to Lashley, not Matt Hardy. Though that certainly applies to him, too. Now that we're down to the Final Four, TNA have reached a point in this World Title Series where they can't have the entire show comprised of only tournament matches anymore. So the question this week was, what were they going to do? How were they going to use all this extra time? Would they use it to finally start incorporating some storylines or backstage pre-tapes or maybe doing something with the many characters on the roster so the viewers might be somewhat invested in what happens to them when the show debuts on the new network in the new year? If you thought the answer to that question was yes, then you haven't been paying attention for the last 2 months plus. Instead of doing something interesting with their last show, on Destination America, TNA decided to share the network's apparent lack of interest by barely putting in any effort whatsoever. Just when you thought they couldn't possibly pad this tournament out any more than they have, TNA deliver a glorified recap show. And I use the word glorified loosely, with a couple multi-man matches thrown in featuring people who were eliminated from the World Title Series, intended to do nothing more than just fill time. Scintillating. So after a segment spent recapping what Matt Hardy did in the World Title Series, and then replaying the Matt Hardy-Davey Richards match from the World Title Series, we go to our first random match of the night, Group Future 4 versus Group X Division. So 4 guys in a division that gets treated like it's nothing versus 4 guys who were treated like they were nothing in this tournament. But hey, at least the match wasn't taking place earlier in the night, so that's a step up for Group Future 4, I guess. The match wasn't bad, but there wasn't a lot of cohesion to it. It just felt like a bunch of spots that didn't flow together all that well. But I will credit them with actually trying to tell some kind of story, which, let's be honest, the World Title Series could have used a lot more of. Mandrews keeps trying to go for some big high spot and keeps getting shut down. Meanwhile, Eli Drake is acting like a dick until his teammates abandon him, which gets him quadruple teamed by the X Division guys. And Mandrews finally hits his shooting star press and finally gets a pin on somebody. Yeah, Mandrews finally won a match. How about that? I mean, the match was still nothing but a time filler, but at least something good came out of it. And the crowd seemed to like it too. This was okay, I guess. After this, instead of original content, we get a replay of the Lashley versus Austin Aries match from the World Title Series. It was a good match, but so what? We already saw it. Fast forwarding to the next segment, we get a brief EC3 training montage, followed by an admittedly well-produced promo package where he gives his thoughts on the World Title Series. The very first sentence out of his mouth is, and I quote, "The World Title Series is bullshit." When the most charismatic person in your Final Four is saying that, that's probably not a good thing, because viewers are going to be more inclined to agree with him than, say, Matt Hardy, for example. He also gives a comment about how he's training and how he earned everything he's gotten, and honestly, he really didn't come off that heelish here. At most, he just felt like a really determined guy with a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't acting like a babyface exactly, but I wouldn't say he was acting like a bad guy either. Especially when he was saying what I imagine a lot of viewers have been thinking about the World Title Series for months now. I could have bought him as just an angry babyface here, and I'm not sure that was the intention. Of course, that's been the big problem with the character dynamics surrounding the World Title Series since Bound for Glory. EC3, who's supposed to be a heel, but felt more like the babyface because he originally got screwed over at Bound for Glory, legitimately, and Matt Hardy, the supposed babyface, coming off more like a heel due to him acting annoyingly self-righteous despite blatantly cheating to win the world title. And this segment did nothing to change my opinion about that. It made me want to continue supporting EC3. As did the pot shot at Robbie E that he threw in there. And then we have our second random time filler match of the night, with Rockstar Spud versus Eddie Edwards versus Bobby Roode versus Ken Anderson in a Four Corners elimination match. You know what? This was good. I don't have much to say about it, but I don't have any I don't have any complaints either. Everyone worked hard. They threw in a little comedy in there. Ultimately, it was just another filler match, but as a filler match, you could do a hell of a lot worse. After this, we have pre-produced comments from Kurt Angle, where he gives his thoughts on the Final Four in the World Title Series. He puts them all over very well, but with the greatest respect to Mr. Angle, why was this necessary? He's not in the World Title Series. He's not going to be competing against any of them for the title. So why do his thoughts on the situation even matter right now? Why are we even getting this video package of him redundantly breaking down the Final Four, especially when we already had a similar video package with the announcers breaking down the Final Four just a few minutes earlier? Answer: to fill time. To eat up more time on the show. It wasn't there for any other reason than that. So then we get Eric Young talking about what he's done in the World Title Series, followed by a replay of the Eric Young-Bobby Roode match from the World Title Series, which is then followed by a replay of the EC3 Ken Anderson match from the World Title Series. A lot of filler on this show. A lot of filler. So we fast forward again, and that takes us to another EC3 interview, where he talks about the World Title Series again. It's entertaining, it's well produced. There was a bit with EC3 yelling at his pool man, which was funny. But good lord, these video packages were getting superfluous as all hell by this point. So thankfully we end the show not with another video package, but with some kind of original content. Unfortunately, it's another roundtable interview, where the Final Four just give their opinions on the other men in the Final Four, which is basically what they'd already been doing all night long anyway. Lashley didn't say much, which was probably to his benefit. Matt Hardy tried to talk too much, which ended up working against him because he demonstrated firsthand that he's a distant third behind EC3 and Eric Young when it comes to promos, to speaking eloquently in an entertaining fashion. At the end, Eric just completely goes off on Matt, listing all the things he's going to do to Matt, how he's going to destroy Matt and destroy his family, blah, blah, blah. Matt can barely muster up any kind of response other than, "No, that won't happen. You won't break me." Wow, great comeback, Matt. Very, very witty. You really impressed me with your sharp tongue and quick wits there. Meanwhile, EC3 is just sitting there laughing at this, cool as a cucumber, while these two guys completely lose their composure, and Lashley just sits off to the side like, whatever. Is it time for my next MMA fight yet? If the point of this interview was for these four guys to sell themselves, to make a case for themselves being in the finals to crown a new world champion after 3 damn months of this tournament, then the finals really should be EC3 versus Eric Young, because they were damn sure the only ones who stood out here. Will it be Matt Hardy in the finals regardless? Yeah, probably. But based on this segment, I really don't see why anyone would want that. Your TNA may be in love with Matt Hardy right now, but it's impossible to deny that he simply did not come off like a star in this segment at all. And I don't see why anyone thought he would. These are the kind of talk-heavy segments you need to keep Matt away from if you want him to be a world title contender. God bless the guy, but it's just not something he excels at. Did this segment make me look forward to the finals of the World Title Series? It made me look forward to the World Title Series being finished, so we can finally get back to doing a more well-rounded show with promos and characters and backstage segments and stuff. But if I'm supposed to be anticipating Matt Hardy being in the finals come January, I'm sorry, but this interview just didn't do that. It pretty much did the opposite. And thus, the final original Impact of the Destination America era comes to a close, with the cliffhanger being that next week will be a Best of 2015 show. So, right after an Impact where they replayed a bunch of matches we've already seen, their plan was to do an Impact where they most likely will just replay a bunch of matches we've already seen, which I believe the network has since canceled. It ends not with a bang, but with a whimper. That's a good way to describe the last Impact on Destination America. A couple random time filler matches with no story attached, several replays of old matches, more video packages than you can count, and a roundtable interview that did little more than make me want to cheer for the two heels and boo the guy that TNA have been championing as the biggest babyface in the whole tournament. Pretty sure that was not how I was supposed to feel, but to be frank, very little of what TNA intended since Bound for Glory has had the right result in my opinion, so that's not surprising. Ideally, TNA would want to be heading into Pop TV with a lot of momentum when interest in their product is at a fever pitch. Instead, it seems like they just decided to throw up their hands and go, fuck it. I mean, why try to deliver an interesting show when they could just half-ass it for one more week, right? I understand that TNA were in a difficult position where they had to produce several months' worth of TV in a matter of days, but when you literally have months in between each block of TV tapings, is it really that difficult for your creative team to write something a little more dynamic than matches, matches, and more matches? I'm not backstage, I don't know what's going on, and I don't pretend to. But regardless of the circumstances, if whoever was responsible for putting these shows together can't produce anything more compelling than what we've been getting for the last several months, then I don't see how moving to Pop TV is going to change anything. If you ask me, this episode of Impact was a microcosm of nearly everything that's been wrong with the product since Bound for Glory. A bunch of filler and a lot of wrestling, which is enjoyable enough, but which didn't have the storyline support to mean that much and doesn't have the proper attention from creative to allow you to connect with the characters the way you're supposed to. After all this time, we should be frothing at the mouth to see the babyface take back the world title. Instead, I'm dreading that and rooting for the heel. So for all TNA's efforts since the World Title Series began, the only thing they managed to accomplish was the exact opposite of what they were trying to do. So yeah, truly this has been 3 months well spent. So long, Destination America. I will enjoy not having to watch your stupid Ghost Asylum promos anymore. Alright, we'll just get to your questions here and then we'll wrap this up, because I got stuff to do. Gore492, I haven't watched Impact in months. Is there anything worth watching right now or to be excited about? Ask me when the World Title Series is over. I might have a different answer. Ray Mastani, what did you think of Raw? It was better than what they've been delivering lately. I still don't think it was anything that good. It looked like they put in a little bit of effort this time. So I wasn't surprised when the rating went up somewhat. So that's good. I'd like to see them put in more effort. Ray Mastani, do you think Vince will show up more often? Maybe if the ratings continue to decline. It seems like he's happy being off TV now. Might show up a little more often than he does. Like a little more often than like once a year. but I wouldn't count on him being a regular character again. Rey Mysterio, who do you think is winning the Royal Rumble? I wonder if WWE even know. I mean, they don't really have a solid opponent for Reigns lined up for WrestleMania. I mean, I would think maybe if it's not Triple H, then maybe Brock Lesnar. Gore492 with rumors that TNA want to sign more talent for them being on Pop TV. Who do you think they should sign? Knockouts, wrestlers, commentators. They need knockouts and they need tag teams. So you raid the indies for both because you need a bunch. They basically need a whole new tag team division, and they need a fair number of new knockouts as well because they're not going to get much. I don't know how much more mileage they think they can get out of the beautiful people. You know, Angelina, Madison, Velvet, but it's not much. Hell, if I were them, I'd get rid of all of them. Of course, they probably can't do that because if they want to keep Davey Richards and Josh Matthews happy, I guess Angelina and Madison have to stick around. Oh, God. They can get rid of Velvet, certainly. So, yeah. I mean, Brooke is leaving, apparently. Taryn probably is as well. Kong seems to be flirting with the idea of retirement, so they need to repopulate both divisions. What rating would you give Raw this week? A little better than what they normally get. I know it went up like something like 25% or something like that. Did you watch NXT TakeOver in London? No, I did not. I was doing something. Let's see. What NXT wrestler would you put in the Rumble? I guess Finn Balor. But if you can't put the NXT champion in there, I mean, who else would it be? Samoa Joe? He'd be a cool surprise. Rey Mysterio, when is the premiere of TNA on Pop TV? I don't know. I think Destination America canceled the last two Impacts on their network. I heard something about Pop TV putting them on the new network instead. I don't know if that's a thing yet. So it may have been in like 2 weeks, or it may be sooner than that. I'm not really sure. What day is it? Where's my calendar? Yeah. Yeah, I think it was January 5th. But they may be doing something. Pop TV may be airing those last two, recap impacts on the 22nd and the 29th. Don't quote me on that. Rey Mysterio, who do you think is winning the the TNA World Title Series? Oh, God, please don't let it be Matt Hardy. Hopefully it's EC3. He never should have lost the title in the first place. But I really don't know. Is TNA so blinded by their infatuation with Matt Hardy right now that they think he'd be a good world champion? Christ, I hope not. Rey Mysterio, is Finn Balor the next face of the WWE? No. No. Great talent, but that won't happen. Gore492, Matt Hardy being in the main event. TNA shows it's so bad. No offense to him, but he's a mid-carder and nothing higher. Agreed? Rey Mysterio, would you like to see the Hardys in WWE for one last ride? Not really. I wouldn't really care. Man, they put the Dudleys back in WWE for one last ride, and look what happened with that. They're a nostalgia act. They're not getting pushed or utilized to their full potential. I mean, the Dudleys could still, make some waves in the tag team division, but that's not happening. They're there to job out to people and do an ECW nostalgia act. Ooh, pinch me. You know, the Hardys would probably end up doing the same, like something similar. I'm just not interested in seeing that. What do you think of the storyline between Charlotte and Becky Lynch? I think it's really fucked up. I don't understand it at all. And though the whole thing with Charlotte and Paige is totally baffling to me. It's really confusing. I don't know who the hell I don't know who's the heel and who's the face, or if there even are heels and faces. They're just unlikable tweeners that you can't really cheer for one person either way. Becky seemed like she was the only true babyface in that situation, and but now she hasn't turned on Charlotte yet. They're still a unit. I don't know if she's starting to get suckered in by Ric Flair and like all the cheating and stuff, and starting to get on board with that, or if she's still not sure what's going on with that yet. I would like for Becky to stay face, so at least there's somebody to root for within this trio. But honestly, I'm not really sure, because the storyline's just been really confusing. Why don't they book TNA like NXT? Because there's different people booking him? Night Ranger, who cares about making Josh Matthews happy? TNA need to get rid of that douchebag and bring back Todd Kennelly. I actually liked him. So did I, damn it. But it looks like TNA have no intention of doing that. Yeah, I mean, Todd Kennelly was part of was brought in during the Hogan-Bischoff regime, and I'm pretty sure they're trying to get away from anything that happened during that time. So Todd Kennelly was really good, but I don't think he's coming back. In the meantime, we've got Josh Matthews, who, love him or hate him, I'll take him over Mike Tenay. And if they got rid of Josh Matthews, they'd probably just bring back Mike Tenay as lead announcer again. And does anyone really want that? Look, God bless Mike Tenay, but it's time for someone new. Rey Mysterio, has GFW gotten a TV contract? Yeah, not that I know of. I think they're going for Triple H versus Reigns at WrestleMania 32. And if not at 32, then certainly at the Rumble. Rey Mysterio, I like the old TNA commentators. Alright, to each their own. I miss heel Don West, he was great. Gore492, I don't mind Charlotte turning heel. I feel she works best in that role. I won't disagree with that. I just think the way they did it was completely stupid. Sasha being on the sidelines is fucking stupid, and Team Bad just needs to die. Worthless faction. Yeah, those We Want Sasha chants aren't going away. Doesn't seem like Vince is on board with Sasha Banks, though. So I'm just going to ignore what the people want, again. Yeah, Team Bad is pretty worthless. Tamina just does nothing. And Naomi is talented, but, they don't seem to be on board with her either. Gore492, I'd rather see Reigns versus Cena than Triple H versus Reigns. Well, until Cena comes back, that's not really on the table. Plus, Triple H versus Reigns is where the story is right now. And I'll give it one more minute before we wrap this up because I got stuff to do. How would you book Cena versus Taker? I wouldn't. How about that? I mean, I guess if you have to do one last WrestleMania match with Taker, it's probably the biggest one you could do at this point. Because they missed their window on Sting versus Taker. I mean, if you're lacking for big matches, I guess you could do Cena versus Taker at WrestleMania. Wouldn't really interest me at this point, because Undertaker doesn't really interest me at this point, but other people might care about it. Maybe not as much as they would have before the streak was ended. And, yeah, looks like that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry this was so late. Well, like I said, I wasn't going to do a stream at 1 a.m. on Wednesday. Yeah, no one was going to be back. Who should Daniel Bryan face if he comes back? I don't know. Does he have a storyline with anybody? No. Would it really matter? Probably not. If he just came back, just having the guy on the TV would help a lot. I don't know. Someone in the League of Nations, maybe? Try to help those guys get over a little bit. All right, guys, that's going to be it. Not really looking to spend too much time on this. It's Christmas. I have other things I'd rather be doing. Like, I have to do some shopping still, and it's getting late. So that's going to be it for tonight. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I may do another stream at some point where I talk about The Force Awakens, which I saw last night. Aside from that, I think that we'll have the next few weeks off because all the comic shows are in on winter break until the winter season starts up. I believe in January, and Impact is on best of shows for the next 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure. So I guess I will see you in 2 weeks ish. Unless we do something for The Force Awakens. And I will watch my Twitter for updates on that. I'll let you know if and when that's happening. And I will see you then. Until such time as I do that, Merry Christmas, everybody. See ya.